Hello guys, this is Nat Blue, and today we are going to be going over the updated species for the 2024 Player's Handbook. This includes some species that are not in the 2014 Player's Handbook, so this is exciting. So the species, we're going to go through all of them. I think there's 10. So we are going to start with the Aasimar. It might be Aasimar. I've always said Aasimar. I've never heard somebody officially say it, really. So this was part of Mordekainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. I'm a big fan of this race already. I've never gotten to play one, but I've had some NPCs that were Aasimar. So you now get Celestial Revelation, which is a transformation that deals extra damage once per turn. And you have Inner Radiance, previously Radiant Consumption. This deals radiant damage equal to your proficiency bonus with a 10-foot radius, but the extra radiant damage on one attack per turn has been moved to the broader Celestial Revelation. So it looks like, according to this, the Celestial Revelation is now tied to your mood or emotional state. So you have like Radiant Wings, Inner Radiance, Necrotic Shroud. There's some cool stuff there. I love this race. I wish that they would release a video more about how the Aasimar have changed, because just reading it on D&D Beyond, I don't know if that's enough. And then we have the Dragonborn. So the Dragonborn has its breath weapon, which now functions similar to how it did in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. So it can be used as an attack action. It has uses equal to your proficiency bonus, so you can use it up to proficiency bonus times a day. And damage scales from 1d10 up to 4d10 at level 17. 4d10 is a decent amount of damage for a level 17 ability, so that sounds pretty awesome. That's probably more than what you're going to be doing with like a sword most of the time. You can now choose the shape of your breath weapon each time. So it can be a 15-foot cone or a 30-foot line, which is some great versatility for the breath weapon. That's pretty awesome. Otherwise, there doesn't seem to be many changes with the Dragonborn. You get Draconic Flight at level 5, or you can sprout Spectral Wings that appear similar to your breath weapon. You gain a fly speed for up to 10 minutes. This features once per long rest. That makes sense for once per long rest. I think sometimes flying can be a little unbalanced in D&D as a player. So I like that they're putting a little bit of a limitation on that. I like that it said that it appears similar to your breath weapon. So if you have like a fire breath weapon, maybe you have red spectral wings. Poison breath weapon, maybe you have like a more sickly green. So I think that sounds really cool for theming. That just sounds awesome. I think I would let my players flavor that however they want to. So if they're like a black Dragonborn, maybe I allow them to have like skeletal wings as those spectral wings. I think there's a lot of flexibility there. So the Dwarves have now been streamlined. They now receive Dwarven Toughness, Dark Vision to a range of 120 feet, and an updated Stone Cunning, which gives you Tremor Sense for 10 minutes on stone surfaces as a bonus action, and you can use that a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. So Tremor Sense is really good. I love that they did that. I do not know how I feel about the 120 feet of Dark Vision. I think we talked about this a little bit in the video I did reviewing the D&D video about species. But 120 feet, I think, is just unnecessary most of the time. And I'm worried that they're going to use this to get rid of the deep dwarfs, which, oddly enough, this does not talk about them. It doesn't talk about the sub-races at all for the dwarf, and that's a little bit worrying to me, because I want to know if those dwarfs are remaining in this edition, or if you're going to have to pull them from 5e, like some of the other stuff that they say is cross-compatible. The elf, you can now choose Insight, Perception, or Survival for the Keen Senses trait. Oh, I missed something with the dwarf. Your speed is 30 feet. So you're no longer 25 feet. I don't like that. I liked that the smaller races were slower because it just made sense. They've got smaller legs. But, I mean, it's not a big change, and it might be something that you can still homebrew in your games if you would like to. I understand a lot of people don't like that they get brought down to 20 feet or 25 feet, but I think it just kind of makes sense with the class or with the race being smaller than the others. So now on to the elf. You can now choose insight, perception, or survival for the keen senses trait. That's great. I like that. The drow no longer suffers from sunlight sensitivity, so the drow are staying in this edition. I was not sure if the drow were going to stay in this edition because I had seen some artwork in some of the prior videos that looked like they were drow, but I didn't know if that was something that they were going to keep. I like that the drow doesn't suffer from sunlight sensitivity because it seems like this might be the only dark elf they're introducing in the player's handbook. So normally, the way that I recommend for my players to get around the whole drow suffer from sunlight sensitivity thing is to just play Shadow Kai from the Shadowfell, because thematically it's still a dark elf, but they don't suffer from the same sensitivities as a drow since they're not from the Underdark, they're from the Shadowfell. But I do like that they don't suffer from sunlight sensitivity. I thought that was just such a bad thing for a player. I don't know why you would choose to play a drow unless you're playing in a campaign that specifically takes place in the Underdark, because sunlight sensitivity is just such a hindrance. And I don't think most DMs are going to make sure that their combat takes place at night. I'm going to just keep my combat the way that it had been pre-planned and maybe help homebrew something to help with that sunlight sensitivity. So like magical sunglasses or a cloak that shrouds your face or something along those lines, where you have to be wearing those during the day or else you suffer that disadvantage. The high elf starts with prestidigitation. I hope I said that right because I'm so bad at that. But can replace it with a different cantrip from the wizard spell list whenever you complete a long rest. That sounds solid. The wood elf Mask of the Wild has now been replaced with the knowledge of the druid craft cantrip. That's okay. Druidcraft is an okay cantrip. Each elf variant has an associated pair of spells gained at level 3 and level 5. Each spell is always prepared and can be cast once without a spell slot, or again using your character's available spell slots. I really like that. So you can cast each spell for free, which is a great mechanic, and you can cast it again using available spell slots. I like that they just gain spells because elves are just naturally magical. They have a little bit more of that Feywild influence than most of the Fey cousins do. So like I would say they have more of an influence than like the gnomes. Or about the same influence as a gnome. But more of an influence than some of the Fey cousins, like the goblins and stuff that in some editions originated in the Feywild and then moved to other planes of existence. Now onto the gnome. This might be my favorite race. And I know a lot of people would not agree with that. A lot of people don't like the gnomes very much. Your speed is now 30 feet. So, I mean, like I said, I don't think this was necessary. I like the 25 feet thing. But 30 feet is okay. I like the gnomes because of how whimsical they are. So my favorite gnome is the forest gnome. They can now speak with animals. Oh, speak with animals has now been replaced with... Oh, speak with small beast has been replaced with speak with animals. I am so sorry. I read that wrong first. The spell is always prepared and you can cast it without a spell slot a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. That's really good. So if you're in like a forest campaign, the forest gnome would now be very useful because they have that speak with animal spells for probably multiple times a day, because I think your proficiency bonus starts at like +2 or +3. So giving them that speak with animals that many times a day for free is really good. And then you can also cast it with spell slots available to your class. So that's a little bit more of that innate magic I was talking about, that gnomes, it makes sense that they have. The rock gnome, which I haven't played a rock gnome yet. I've only played forest gnomes. And I think, I haven't played a deep gnome in D&D. I've played it on Baldur's Gate. But the Rock Gnome gets the Mending and Prestidigitation cantrips. Mending is amazing, and Rock Gnomes being more of a tinkerer, it makes a lot of sense. The Tinker trait has been reworked for the 2024 Rock Gnome. Its effects are based on Prestidigitation, and you can now have 3 devices at a time, which is really good. So that's great. I like those changes to the Rock Gnome. The Goliath is now included as a main character and based on the Goliath in Monsters of the Multiverse, so that's amazing. Your speed is now 35 feet, which is really good. For the same reason, I think the Gnomes and Halflings and everybody should have 25 feet. Goliaths have big legs, guys. Like, they're big. You have Giant Ancestry, so you can now choose the type of giant you're descended from, selecting from Cloud Giant, Fire Giant, Frost Giant, Hill Giant, Stone Giant, or Storm Giant. Each gives you a specific benefit you can use a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. That's really cool. I'm interested to see what those specific benefits are. I've never played a Goliath, but I've been curious about them. So I would like to see what those additional benefits are to see which one I would like to use. And then you get a large form. At level 5, you can use a bonus action to become large for 10 minutes, gaining advantage on strength checks and increasing your speed by 10 feet. That sounds really good for the stereotypical Goliath barbarian, where they already have a little bit of an increased speed. And becoming large and getting advantage on strength checks and everything just seems like a very barbarian thing to do. Powerful build no longer grants proficiency in athletics. This used to be Little Giant, but you have advantage on saving throws made to end the grappled condition, in addition to increased carrying capacity. So that's great. I like that. It just adds to that thing with Goliath just being naturally strong. Halflings. So Halflings have been streamlined. All of them receive Brave, Nimbleness, Luck, formerly called Lucky, and Natural Stealthy traits. I think that makes sense. Brave and Nimbleness were formerly traits of the subclasses or sub-races. So like the Lightfoot and the, I don't remember, Sturdy Halfling. I don't think that's what it is, but oh, that explains the dwarf thing. So the dwarves have also been streamlined. That means there's not sub-races anymore, and I don't know how I like that. But Lucky is so good that I think it's going to be great to give that to every halfling. I think every halfling might already have that, if I'm not mistaken. Their speed is now 30 feet, along with the other small species. So I guess that makes sense since you're trying to keep all of the small ones a little bit faster than they used to be. So the 2024 human is closer to the 2014 variant human, which makes sense. So you gain heroic inspiration whenever you finish a long rest. That's solid. You can gain a proficiency in one skill of your choice, and you gain an origin feat of your choice in addition to the one gained at character creation. So those are all solid abilities. I don't want to play another human. That was my first D&D character, was a human. I like the whimsy of playing like a fantasy race. I don't want to play a human when I'm already a human. Orc is now included as a species in the core rules. It was previously found in Monsters of the Multiverse. I need to slow down a little bit. You now get Adrenaline Rush, which can be regained after a short or long rest. This allows you to dash and gain temporary hit points as a bonus action. And then Orc Dark Vision has been extended to 120 feet. I think that's still a little far, but that's okay. They no longer have the powerful build feature, so that's a little sad, but that's okay also. The Tiefling is the last of the 10 classes here. So you can choose from one of the 3 lower planes for your Fiendish Legacy now. You're not doing it specifically based on a devil or a demon. It's now Abyssal, Chthonic, or Infernal. I watched Pointy Hat's video on Tieflings. If you have not seen Pointy Hat's video on Tieflings, you should definitely check it out. I'll try to put a link down in the description. He did an amazing job describing the new 2024 Tieflings. I think they sent him some resources before his video to just go over about the 2024 Tiefling. Each Tiefling variant does now have an associated damage resistance and a pair of spells gained at level 3 and level 5. Each spell is always prepared and can be cast once without a spell slot, or again using your character's available spell slots. So very similar to the Elf and the Gnome, how they have innate spells that they can cast without expending spell slots. And I am always for that. That sounds awesome to me. Just some new revised traits. So just like the Dragonborn has the breath weapon, Gnomes have speak with animals, Dwarves have tremor sense. So a lot of cool stuff like that. The Elves and Tieflings getting spells makes a lot of sense thematically, since they're just magical races, to be honest. And then the one thing I don't know how I feel about with the new species is the ability score adjustments. So your ability score adjustments are no longer tied to species. So often in 2014 and forward, players choose a race based on what class they're picking, which is sometimes opposite. Sometimes I choose a race and then I decide to play a class that doesn't play into that very well. So I had like a Halfling bard, which was not the best fit, but I just adjusted his charisma and everything when I was doing point buy. I normally do point buy. But now you can play species with any character class without feeling like you're intentionally putting yourself at an ability score detriment by doing so. That's what D&D Beyond says. So your ability score adjustments are now tied to your background. So similar to proficiencies and stuff like that. This makes backgrounds more important to character creation. 2014 backgrounds aren't very important. Sometimes they give you a little bit of a boon. So like I had a character that had a background that gave him a pet mouse. It was an odd thing. I think my current character, his background is he can move through cities faster. There's just small stuff like that. The noble background allows you to gain an audience with a noble faster, but they don't have anything to do with score adjustments. I think sometimes they give you proficiencies, but not much in the way of score adjustments. So the way that it's going to work, and they explain this better in the backgrounds video on Dungeons and Dragons official channel, but you have 3 ability scores tied to each background. You can choose to add +2 to one of those abilities and +1 to another, or add +1 to all 3. So the example they give on here is the farmer background gives you strength, constitution, and wisdom to choose from. The wayfarer gives you dexterity, wisdom, and charisma. So you could use those backgrounds to boost your stats. I think my thing with this is it's going to cause a similar problem to the 2014 issue, and that is that people are probably going to pick backgrounds for the class. So like a farmer has strength, constitution, and wisdom, so somebody's probably not going to have a farmer turned wizard kind of thing, you know? They want more flexibility with the backgrounds, but I think it causes a similar issue. And I kind of liked ability score adjustments, some of them being tied to races. So like the Tieflings having a charisma modifier made a lot of sense to me, because Tieflings are descended from devils in the 2014 handbook. It looks like it's a little different now, but they're descended from devils in the 2014 handbook. And devils are known for making deals with mortals, so they're a little bit more charismatic, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And then stuff like humans having more constitution, they're known as a resilient race. Orcs getting bonuses to strength made sense because they're just such large species. They're such a large species. So I don't know how I feel about this. It does have an addendum on here that The character creation rules chapter gives you suggestions on how to adapt backgrounds and species from older books. So that means that like the Shadow Kai and everything, there's going to be a suggestion on how to bring them back in to the current edition. So overall, I think there's some good changes here. There's some stuff I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think they had to make the small races faster. I think people were relatively okay with it. I don't know how I feel about ability score adjustments no longer being tied to species. I think that was fine in 2014. I understand what they're going for by making the background more important. They really want that mechanic, but I think it's the same issue as tying it to a species. So I think that is it for the 10 new species in the 2024 Player's Handbook. I say new because all of them have some changes to them at least, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I do have background music playing, and we are currently playing music from Streambeats. It's a service by Harris Heller on Spotify. We're not sponsored by this or anything. I just really like Streambeats. I am playing the Prime, Prime playlist because it's relatively new. It's a 2024 playlist, and I haven't heard any of these songs yet, so I was giving them a shot. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of background music. I think it's a little bit better than just hearing somebody talk for 20 minutes. If you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Hit the notification bell if you want to see videos as they release. Over the next year, I think they are going to be releasing a lot of stuff about D&D, so I'm very excited to keep jumping into stuff. There's other stuff I want to review, like Tales of the Valiant, Crooked Moon when it comes out, stuff along those lines. So I'm really excited for the next year. I think we have a lot of TTRPG content coming our way that I'm really excited to talk about. And other than that, I hope everybody is having a great day. And until next time, peace.